Mm-mm. Well, hello, I am back. And my connection is stable. Let me see here. Let me shut this thing down. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, making this quick video today for Saturn retrograde that is about to take place this coming tax deadline day in US. So on April 17th, I think around 5:50 p.m., Saturn's gonna go retrograde. Okay? And Saturn's gonna be retrograde till September of 2018. So this is a very, very important retrograde of Saturn, and this is especially for individual. Usually, I'm making it more on the mundane basis, but this is more of individual, and it's uh, more like an advice than an analysis, because you will know the analysis once you hear the advice. So my advice to every single person is, whoever's watching this video between now and September, is be careful of picking any fights, aggravating anybody, saying something stupid online on text messages, because of the fact Saturn being retrograde, especially being retrograde in the energy of Purvashada, it is going to create unnecessary, stupid, ridiculous fights. You will have tendency of declaring wars on your competition, on your enemies. Remember, you are, as much as you all you think you have control over yourself and the free will and all those things that you think about. Remember the size of Saturn and the winds that are on Saturn. The how fast the winds are. You can survive for even less than 1/10, 1,000th of a second on Saturn. So give some respect to Saturn. And knowing this, just like how a retrograde, affects you no matter how conscious you are, how aware you are. Because it takes literally a super awareness for you to be completely away from transit. But when Saturn goes retrograde, see, Saturn is heavy karma when it's retrograde. And especially because it's now retrograding in Purvashada Nakshatra, you will run into situation, even if you do not want to, you will run into situation where you could be provoked. You will be provoked. Yes, I know I've got the most stylish hair, man. I'm the James Dean of astrology. What are you talking about? You are killing me! Wasn't that the dialogue by James Dean? You're tearing me apart! Because you just, this is the best advice I can give you. The shortest horoscope for every single ascendant. Okay? Like, for example, Saturn transits your first house. People will come to pick fights with you. Okay? People will come to pick fights with you, and you will pick fights with people. You'll just be in this warmongering mode. Second house. If Saturn is transiting your second house from the ascendant or the moon, doesn't matter. You're gonna pick fights on financial reasons, for financial reasons, with your family, with your parents, with your spouse. Third house. This is the most important one, I think, especially nowadays. Third house, you're going to be forced to engage in fights and argument on social media, over text messages, phone calls, younger siblings, older siblings, cousins. You're going to be put, they will try, even if you do not want to, like I said, you're going to be provoked. You're going to be provoked to pick fights. You're going to be provoked to say something so the fight begins. Then in the fourth house, you can provoke or have fights within your home, with your mother. Fifth house, fighting with your children, subordinates. So if you're a manager somewhere, you may get into a situation that you will get so aggravated that you will try to pick fights with your subordinates, because subordinates are like children. That's the fifth house. Sixth house, other people will try to pick fights with you. Suddenly you will run into situations. You could be literally standing in a line at a restaurant to get some food, and you may bump into someone and they'll try to pick a fight with you. This is why be aware. If you bump into somebody says something to you, just say this: I'm so sorry. I do not mean to do this. I'm sorry. Dissolve your ego. Because sometimes you do have to dissolve your ego. You know, people say let go of your ego. You shouldn't let go of your ego. If you let go of your ego, you're not going to feed your children. You're not going to take care of your body. You're not going to care for your health. You're not going to care for your diet, your hygiene, your bills. That's what letting go of ego means. People don't understand that. You let go of ego, that means your children will starve to death, your wife will starve to death because you're not going to care for it. No, suppress the ego. That I have to fight because you challenged me. Now, if somebody just hits you, yes, protect yourself. You better fight back then. But if you can provoke, or if somebody provokes a fight, try to dismay it. Okay? Then, if Saturn transits your seventh house, do not pick fights with your spouse. Do not pick fights and argument, because that's where the most of your Saturn's energy is, right? Because Saturn gets directional strength in the seventh house. Saturn is the most powerful in the seventh house. Seventh house is the house of uh, marriage, partnership, business, but also other people. Like I am saying, I'm lecturing right now, right, from this room. But everybody here all over the world is interacting with me. That's the seventh house. So you can say something right now and you can try to provoke me. Then eighth house, you will have hidden sources trying to pick fights with you. Like you could have people with fake profiles trying to come after you. You may have fights with your in-laws. So be aware of that. Ninth house, fights with the father and guru. You don't disagree with your guru, suddenly you're going to be provoked to say something. 10th house, fights with your bosses. Your boss orders you around, and if you know that you want that job, and yet at the same time your ego is getting hurt because your boss is saying something, just become Mahatma Gandhi till September, then you can say something. 11th house, with your professional network circles. They will try to pick fights with you. They will put you in a situation where you're going to be agitated, aggressive. It's already happening right now. Saturn is in Purvashada right now. Most of you should experience some tidbits of it. But when it goes retrograde, I mean, it's like, you know what retrograde means? It's like, imagine me having this cell phone on my head, okay? But then, retrograde means imagine 100 of these cell phones on my head. There's going to be pressure on my head. That's what retrograde does. 12th house, you could be picking fights with your foreign friends, foreign co-workers, your paternal grandmother, with spiritual organizations. Play fights is okay as long as you wear the costumes. My wife and I did that just 2 days ago. Ooh, it was good. You know my wife, she was Stormy Daniels, so, and I was wearing my Trump red tie. So, and I'm like, you're hired. I didn't fire her. I'm like, you're hired. Come on in the room. That's how I do it. That's how I pick fights. But I'm telling you, this is see, people who do not watch this video, they'll be unconscious. They'll be like, "Oh, you want to fight with me? Okay, I'm gonna fight with you." People who don't know astrology, people who do not watch this video, they'll just be making stupid mistakes and they'll be thinking, "Wow, why did this happen to me all of a sudden this year? I have never fought a physical fight in my life, and here I had to punch somebody." I think in my life I had two fights, and I won both of them. Even though I'm the one who never likes to fight, who I avoid fights and I avoid conflicts. I go the other way. But sometimes when they challenged me, especially in high school, I had two fights. This one guy was 6'1". Here I am 5'8". After school fight, I still remember his name was Carl. Um, and he was my neighbor, but in high school everybody talks this and that, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna fight him" and all that. I'm like, "Oh shit!" And then I had to walk, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna get my ass whipped." But one punch from me, he was down, and from there I had respect in my high school. But this doesn't mean that I should have done that, because in retrograde, what can happen is that one fight can lead you to 10 different places in life that you don't want to go to. Like, for example, you're drunk, right? Somebody tries to provoke you for a fight. They're like, "Hey, he's provoking me or she's provoking me for a fight." What happens? You punch them. Let's say you punch them right there. Do you know how many fights I have heard of on news channel where from one punch the person died? One punch. So you think that, hey, I'm going to give him a punch, it'll be a man to man fight. But when Saturn is retrograde, that punch can go so deep that it can kill a person. And next thing you know, you could be going into federal prison. From your regular job to federal prison. That's how dramatic these retrogrades are, especially when Saturn goes into Purvashada. Because remember, the behavior of Saturn is reversed. Saturn likes to fight the good fight. Saturn's a lazy planet. Saturn doesn't really want to fight, but when it fights, it wants to fight the good fight. It wants to fight the fight that brings in good karma. But when it's reversed, when it's going retrograde, that means karma is very heavy. That means people that you have fought in your previous lives, people who you have hurt physically in previous life, may be running into you now to give back that pain, that fight. And that's the most simplest analogy of this Purvashada. Like, for example, countries. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if all the countries use astrologers. Let's say if I was the astrologer for politicians or a president in US here, my first advice would be, do not go on any war or fight till after September. Then you make the decision. Don't hit that button for the missile. Because it'll be like Butterfinger, like, "Oh, sorry, press the button. Here comes the missile." And especially for people who have Saturn retrograde in your birth chart, that's where those are the people really have to be very, very careful as to who and what and where they go. Be aware. If you can just go to work, come back home, and stay home till September, do it. Especially for the young ones, don't go to clubbing, because that's where you'll find the most ridiculous, nonsensical, idiotic crowd who's drunk and high and they're willing to do anything and everything. And the reason why I'm making this video, because it's pretty much has kind of begun. I was talking to one of my friends who almost just got into a fight, just you know, sitting and drinking his drink at a hotel. Somebody just like dog stared at him just because he's a colored person and they just maybe didn't like him or something. I mean, they were like, "What are you looking at?" They're like, what do you mean? What am I looking at? You're looking at me. And suddenly they're like coming after them. I'm like, oh man, it's already started. It already started. So be aware of wherever you go. You see somebody who's like, just mean, doesn't care for anything, just stay away from them. Go eat some in the backside of the restaurant. So be very careful of your chosen words. And it doesn't matter if Saturn retrogrades back into Mula. Saturn's going to go from Purva Shada to Mula. But guess, see, when a planet goes retrograde, you have to see the point of retrogradation. What point was it retrograding? Doesn't matter if it goes from your ninth house to eighth house. Doesn't matter if it goes from 11th house to 10th house. Doesn't matter if it goes from Purva Shada to Mula. Because the starting point of retrogression with Purva Shada, that will be the main theme throughout that. And Mula is obviously the energy that really goes deep into the black hole. Because Mula is occurring on the black hole. It's on the point of the black hole. So your one punch can really take you into the black hole. You see what I'm saying? So even if Saturn is in Mula, be careful of the fight. Don't be like, oh, Saturn is retrograde in Mula now. Now I'm going to be looking into spirituality and occult and all that. Fine, you might be. But that energy is superseding the energy of Mula. You're at the airport, you know, be careful of somebody's agitating, somebody farts on your seat in your plane. Just respectfully close your nose. Because you will see, I am guaranteeing you will see just within the next 2-3 weeks news of fights, actual people getting into fights, viral videos of people punching each other and kicking each other, and this person doing that to them. But once you're aware of this certain energy, then you are able to control your senses. That's what astrology is for. It's not really to win something, win lottery, or get married. Is to just be aware of what's happening. Awareness is very, very important. Awareness is something that, okay, I'm holding the cigar, I'm talking, I'm looking at the screen, I'm swinging back and forth. That's awareness. Awareness increases your intuition like this. So my awareness is now, okay, Saturn is going stationed. From station, it's going to go retrograde. That means karma becomes heavy. That means I have to be careful what I do, where I go, what I say, what I don't say. So once you're aware of this notion, then everything just will make sense, and hopefully you all get out of this without any black eyes, okay, or bruises. Because really, this is not just verbal fights. This can really turn into like physical fights. People who have never even thought of fighting, they could be having to defend themselves. Now, defending yourself is different. Somebody comes and tries to punch you. I mean, what are you going to do? Put the other cheek? No. You gotta, once somebody hits you, then you gotta defend yourself. Then you've gotta throw back that punch. But if you can avoid it the first time, you better do that. Because police may not get there on time. People may not be around you trying to save you. So that's my only point that I want to make. One thing you will also see with people is that a lot of people will try to go to resorts when Saturn goes retrograde. That wherever the house Saturn is retrograding, those people will try to go to resorts and near water. And especially if your Saturn is retrograde and then Saturn goes retrograde, it'll be you as well. It doesn't matter if it's in your ascendant or not, or if it's your ascendant lord or not. So, for example, let's say Saturn is retrograding in your third house. Well, if you have siblings, then your siblings might be wanting to go near water, wanting to be near water, wanting to book like resorts and go to resorts and booking some trip somewhere. Because Purva Shada people tend to always find relaxation at a resort or near water. This is due to the connections of, elephants and monkeys. And also, don't try to hang with people, who are very adventurous. Like, hey, let's go here, let's do this. Let's go here, let's do that. Purvashada is ruled by the monkey going from one branch to the other. During retrograde, going from one branch to the other, you can fall from that branch. So whenever there's large crowds, big crowds wanting to do this and that, go, but be careful. Don't swing too many. Don't swing on too many branches. And once you do that, you will understand Saturn retrograde. You will understand Saturn's position uh, in Purvashada in Sagittarius. Also, during retrograde Saturn, don't climb. Like, oh, I want to go. If you're a mountain climber, or I want to climb a summit, be careful of that too. Um, don't try to insult your masters, your teachers, your counselors, also, because that can also bring a downfall for you. But again, this is simply an advice. There's no analysis here. This advice is everything. It's the holy grail of this whole retrograde. I mean, it's pretty much kind of like a superlatives of everything you can imagine with um, Saturn. All the nouns that are represented by Saturn will be understood by this, knowing that, okay, it's the advice. I should not pick fights. I should not pick fights with people. I should not pick fights with mountains. I should not pick fights with gurus, because they will hit back. Okay? So that's all I wanted to make this video on. I'm actually watching the movie 2012. I watched it so many times, but it's available for free on Amazon. So I'm like, I finished my work, smoking my cigar, and just relaxing. I'm in a relaxed mode. I actually have a I Ching expert in my home right now. He's staying overnight. He's my wife's teacher at school. He's moving back to Florida, so he's just spending time with us. He loves cigars. I like cigars, so he did a procedure on me, which was amazing. It's like I feel drunk. I don't know if you guys can see in my eyes. I mean, he did something. It's just amazing, amazing. I love I Ching. It's pretty much the Vedas or the Bhagavad Gita of China. So anyway, I don't want to pick any fights. Okay, so I'll shut up. So don't kick my ass, please. But yes, just be aware of your surroundings. Be aware where you're driving, and you will come out of it with everything intact. Okay, so thank you very much. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. Subscribe to my main channel, Karis channel. And if you need anything else, go to my website, astrologykaris.com. Otherwise, we'll see you later.